Hello, Augies Worldwide. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, with another episode of Ask Dave. Today's question comes to us from Doug McCray, K2QWQ. And his question is very simple. Whip antennas for AM reception have been appearing in vehicles, pickups largely. Actually, AM antennas go back a long ways on vehicles. And they used to be those whip antennas. You'd pull it up like this, and then what people would do, and I saw vandals doing this, for whatever reason, the auto manufacturers put the whip antenna on the passenger side. So a guy walking down the street could just whang, 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 and break these things off, and they were impossible to fix. You had to replace it, and it was quite a pain. So what they went to was something that looks a lot like this hamstick. Now this hamstick has a coil right where my hand is, but here you can see how it is wound. You see it's a fiberglass rod in here, and you see the wire wrapped around it, and you say, isn't that a great big coil? Well, technically yes, but the coil is influenced by the spacing between the turns, okay, which is quite large in this instance, okay, the size of the wire, the dielectric coefficient, the diameter, this side of the wire, yeah. And there's just not much inductance in this part. Now when you get up to here where the coil is, there's a lot of inductances here because it's very closely wound. But then it's the reason for winding it like this is so that you have a longer wire wrapped slightly around something to shorten the physical length. If I were to cut this open right here and unhook the wire, I could stretch it out quite a bit further so it acts as though it's a longer wire. All right. Now, a real AM antenna, there are a number of ways you can make it. You can make a loop where you wind lots and lots and lots and lots of coils around the loop, okay? And you actually get an antenna that with an additional capacitor in there, you can get it to kind of resonate very nicely with the AM signal that you're trying to receive. You see this on I'm talking 1920s era receivers where you have these things. They can be large, even like that. So the antennas that are on cars are not matched. They're not long enough. They're too short. What do you do with an antenna that is too short? You add inductance to make it appear longer. And also, if you don't do that, the impedance will be off quite a bit. But the way car radios work on AM is they compensate for that. They're only taking the voltage input from the antenna and not worrying about impedance or impedance matching or anything like that. And there's a lot of extra amplification in there, so they work out just fine. This is also one reason that AM radio transmitters on AM broadcasting are very powerful. Because if you're just one ham talking to another guy across town, 10 or 15 watts with good antennas, you know, like on 80 meters or something like that, you'd be doing just fine. But these AM stations will put out 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 watts, okay, to make up for the fact that you've got a lousy antenna. They also make antennas, if you take a little piece of ferrite, a rod of ferrite, and you wrap it a gazillion times with wire, that makes a fairly good AM antenna. This is quite directional, but it does work, okay? So that's what they're trying to do with that. The antennas, so if a vandal comes along and whacks it, it just springs back. That's why they do that. And they've moved a lot of those antennas over to the driver's side of the car, so they're less likely to hit something. And you'll note on your 2-meter antenna, if it's one from quite a wide variety of vendors, if you go into the garage door will catch that thing, bend it back, and then it'll boing back into position as soon as it's out from under the door. Okay, they're made that way on purpose. Now, to take a look at your question here, they are wire wound. Has anybody had any experience with or tested to see if they might have any ham use as is or modified? They're not made for ham use. Like I said, the antenna on a car might be this long, whereas this is for HF and there's a stinger coming out of here. And this is probably 20 meters band, or let's see, it says right here, 20 meters. Okay, so this is only half the length, it goes up higher. I would not see a lot of use for an AM antenna as in a pickup truck, which is designed for much lower frequencies, medium frequencies, for ham radio, but it doesn't mean you can't try. I mean, after all, one of the purposes of ham radio is to let ham radio enthusiasts experiment with things in the hope that it will further the radio art. Okay? And so there you have it. So until we next meet, 73.